Let's layeth the smacketh down on the people from January 19th, because, again, this program, it was a fantastic wrestling program if they just get those pesky matches out of the way. And but at the same time, they're kicking AEW's ass. There's nobody else even in the race, and they're talking to us, these soliloquies and the monologues and the dissertations and the speechifying. But it's all stars, and it makes sense, and it's working. They started off the program with recapping last week what happened between the Bloodline and AJ and LA Knight, and Orton came out to save the day, and the babyfaces, triumph there. But then Roman and Paul, they come in through a metal detector. They're making Heyman walk through a metal detector. What did they think? He stole the silverware out of catering? It wasn't the silverware. It was the 2 bowls of pasta. Anyway, so they walk through in the back of the arena, the metal detector, and there's Solo and Uso stand there. And I'm like, as long as I don't have to watch either one of the Usos wrestle, I love them. Jimmy Uso's there. He's trying to shake Roman's hand and be all fucking Jimmy J.J. Walker, and he gets ignored, and so he's like, oh, okay. And Roman said, last week he said, I said fix it, and it didn't get fixed. So I'm here to make it right. And he walks off, and Solo gets his close-up where he says, I'll fix everything. So we've teased, okay, the big dog's in the house, blah, blah, blah. They're in Atlanta. It's sold out. When was the last time you remember, Brian, that spoken words sold out NBA arenas? Was it the heyday of Andrew Dice Clay?
Or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Not with his speeches.
No,
I don't believe. So Nick Aldis is in the ring, and they're going to have the contract signing for the 4-way title match between the 3 aforementioned baby faces, although AJ is straddling, and Roman for the title at the Royal Rumble, because that's what Aldis told Paul that his boy had earned himself. So AJ enters, and he gets in, and he signs immediately, no verbiage at all. And LA Knight comes in and gets a bigger pop, and he signs immediately, no verbiage. And did you know when these guys come out, they're dressed like they're somebody? It not necessarily, I'm not even saying it was great fashion, but they're dressed like they're somebody, whether some weirdo celebrity, an athlete, a star, movie, TV, they're somebody. Normal people don't dress like that. Instead of the fucking indie guys on the other channel that come out dressed like Ned, they just woke up in the Salvation Army drop box. They look like somebody. And then Orton comes out, and he's dressed to wrestle because he's going to wrestle later on, and he's wearing his own T-shirt. His own fucking... Now, he's not wearing a T-shirt in tribute to his favorite Japanese wrestler. And Orton signs, and the fans are digging him just fantastic. And then Aldis introduces Roman, and Roman's music play, but wait, it's just Paul Heyman, the wise man. And he comes out in the entranceway, and it's the old manager story. Well, I haven't had a chance to submit the contract to my attorney or to even review it, so sadly, unfortunately, Roman Reigns will not be signing this contract tonight. Ooh. And Aldis said, oh, that's fine, Paul. No problem, I understand. And Paul turns around, he's going to leave, and Aldis says, I've already got these other 3 guys' signatures, so it can be a contract for the triple threat match for the vacant Universal World Global Heavyweight Championship of the planet. And Paul comes back to the ring with his mean face. And Brian, do you know when Paul got up on the apron of the ring and was walking straight over to Aldous, who was looking at him, and they had the view from the hard camera. Do you know what it reminded me of when Paul walked up to Aldous?
Can you just leave him alone for 1 week?
It reminded me of the opening of Alfred Hitchcock's Presents when Alfred Hitchcock's silhouette walks right into the fucking frame and goes right into his caricature, and he went nose to nose. Alfred Hitchcock's caricature and Nick Aldis went nose to nose. It did look like, go back and watch. If you've saved this on your DVR, it was very effective. You could do a mashup. I'm not inviting any of the very talented video artisans to do this, but if you had the opening of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, the caricature there of Alfred, and then the silhouette walking in, and you could juxtapose that with Heyman walking toward Aldous, well, you'd have an award-winning piece of video that I would probably retweet. Anyway, Paul tells Aldous that he cares deeply about him and the mediocre job that he's done as general manager, wearing his Paul Heyman wannabe custom suits, but there's no way that he's going to be able to sell that to the board of directors or the fans or anybody else, and Roman Reigns ought to be in a one-on-one match at the Rumble. And then LA Knight pipes in and tells Paul to shut up and gets a pop. It ought to be a one-on-one match against me because I knocked Roman Reigns' half-wit, cross-eyed cousins out of and said that he would come over there and cut bacon off of Paul's back. I mean, I'm saying finally we're hearing wrestling promos again. Just a little personal insult goes a long way. And these guys are not saying, oh, it's always been my dream to stand in the ring, and I want you at your best. They want to cripple each other. So anyway, LA asks why that AJ Styles and Randy Orton jumped his line when he almost had Roman Reigns a while back, but AJ bowed up and told LA that he was lucky to be in the match. And LA said, watch the bass of your voice, son. You need to worry about Roman Reigns. And then as they're arguing, Orton's just leaning back in the corner and listening. And LA Knight tells AJ off and starts to walk away, and AJ punches him. And they go down to the floor and they have a big fight. And Aldis calls security and the referees, and they pull them apart. And Heyman's on the apron laughing at these guys on the floor, and Orton walks up behind him and grabs his tie, and Paul does the slowly I turned. Oh, Paul is great at being physically intimidated. He's like muttering under his breath, please don't hurt me. And his jowls are trembling in the wind. And Orton just tells Paul that, hey, I know what you're doing and it ain't going to work because I'm going to drop Solo tonight and then I'm going to reintroduce Roman Reigns to the RKO. And he pats him on his extra large face and they play the music. It was 18 minutes. It was commercial free. It flew by. Everybody's not only a star, but everybody was great and said what they should say. And is a big time presentation of an important issue for the biggest box office attraction in the business's world title match at the Royal Rumble. The problem is you can't goddamn do this for 2 hours, and they, but boy, what they do, they're selling shit. They're selling tickets. They're getting fans to ask questions. They're getting people interested in what's going to happen next. Just almost none of it has to do with these damn wrestling matches. What do you think, Brian?
I thought it was a great opening segment. I am a big fan of Nick Aldis so far. The way he handles these segments, the way he carries himself, he delivers his lines, his interaction with Heyman. I'm a big fan of it so far. Good opening segment. Randy Orton lied, though. He said the most dangerous 3 letters in sports entertainment are RKO. It's NDA.
I think he signed one of those. He's not allowed to mention it.
Oh. The NDA that you can't mention the NDA?
Yes, he signed an NDA to not be able to talk about his NDA.
You know, when we put up the video for Tony Khan talking about the Jericho thing, someone put a comment. It was so funny. It was the first thing that comes up. It's the most popular one there. It's like, Why didn't Tony just sign himself to an NDA?
This is so secret, I'm not allowed to talk to myself about it. If I think about it, I can sue myself. And I don't want to be hauled into court by me. And then, and right after this, by the way, they go back in the back where Aldis is walking. And AJ comes in all pissed off and wants LA Knight tonight. And Aldis says, fine. So now we not only know the main event, Randy and Solo, but also we're going to see AJ and LA Knight. We've seen these guys, the emotions are running high. What's going to happen? So they've hooked us, and we know there's more of this shit to come in this program. But then what came next, because remember, they're a third of the way through the first hour now with this one segment, and we're cooking. Boy, big stars, people are into this shit. A 6-man tag match with Angel, Herbert, and Escobar against Carlito, Walking Wild, and Benicio del Toro. I believe those were most of their names. I'd like to see Carlito. Remember, we wanted Carlito to come back. Where'd he go? We wanted to see him fight Escobar, right? And then it didn't happen, and there was no explanation. And Carlito's back, and now they're fighting. But I'm not really interested in all these people fighting. Are you?
I'm interested in what happens, not really the matches for these specific people.
So what happened then, anyway? Because I wasn't interested in either one.
You know, I wanted to see what happened, but when I left the room because I didn't want to see the match, I didn't come back in time to see what happened.
Well, I'm glad we were able to break that down in such excruciating detail for all the people.
It's like they give you match time on SmackDown until you get over enough that you have talking time. If you can get over during match time, you get time to not wrestle anymore on TV, just talk. So hopefully Escobar could break away from the pack here.
And again, it used to be the opposite. When you came in a fucking territory, everybody got to wrestle, but only a few people got to talk. And then now the idea is to wrestle enough until you get to where you don't have to wrestle. All you have to do is talk. Okay, anyway, so Purely Dreary wrestled, I don't know, either one probably doesn't apply. Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne was formerly known as Butch, but now he's again known as Pete Dunne, and he's back to his old gimmick with the Bruiser Brody furry vest. And we saw that. I invoked the Purely Dreary rule. Did you?
I still hadn't come back into the room from the previous match.
Well, by the time it had been about 40 minutes.
I'm going to be in the minority here. I thought Butch was better than just Pete Dunne being Pete Dunne.
I don't know what's happening here. But basically then that was the first hour. We got the Dynamite 20 minutes, and then we got the fucking matches in the way. But then at the top of the hour where it's network television, they want to snag the viewers. We got the next big talking segment. The history package between Kevin Owens and Logan Paul. And Logan Paul complained about the cast and his black eye, and he won't fight Owens if he's wearing the cast at the Royal Rumble. And then we come right in at 9:00 into the KO show, and he brings Logan Paul out. And again, in the first hour, the only good thing was the first 20 minutes of talking, and the second hour starts. And it's stars. It's people we know who the fuck they are, and they're going to talk to us, and we got to listen. And Logan Paul's story now is that Kevin Owens is the reason why that Logan Paul became a WWE superstar, because they showed the VTR of Owens giving Logan Paul the stunner at WrestleMania 2021 when he was just, I guess, the guest celebrity, right? And he embarrassed Logan Paul at his first WrestleMania. And so he has given him the determination. And that's why he trained, and he's done this, and he's a U.S. champion or whatever the fuck. And again, Logan Paul is a natural at this. He's milking and pausing in the right places. And he's better than, half the guys that get in the business at talking, at being a prick and getting, just people annoyed in one way or another, don't you think?
Like corrupt crypto scams and taking his fans' money. Yeah, I mean, he's totally that kind of guy. I think so.
But I mean, he could also at the same time, he could be a shitty talker.
He gets it in a way that, like, I'm not to compare him to The Rock, but when The Rock hit, Rock had timing and he knew when to pause and how to read the room.
Yeah.
Not a lot of guys get that. There's no nervousness with Logan Paul. Or if he has it, he doesn't show it. He just seems like a natural at it.
Yeah, and part of that because he's really full of his own shit. And that's easier to be not nervous when you're convinced that you're, something special. But anyway, whereas Owens then responds and says that he barely remembers it, stunnering Logan Paul because he was just, the celebrity that came in, blah, blah, blah. And he put Logan Paul over at what he's accomplished, but you're not one of us. You're not me. You're not Sammy. You're not all of his other friends. But then they started going back and forth because I was kind of tolerating this to this point. And then Logan Paul uncorked a promo about himself, putting himself over that the Dream Machine would have been proud of. Did you hear that string? I couldn't write it fast enough and I can't quote it, but he put himself over with a line of jive, as Barbara Billingsley would say in airport, or airplane rather. Airplane, I'm sorry. Yes, and he got the fans chanting Logan sucks, and then Owens fired right back at him because Owens is a goddamn promo. There's a lot about you, Logan Paul, I can't talk about because you've been protected. You were given all the tools, and yeah, you're U.S. champion, but I think it's a joke, and I'm putting an end to it. And then they argue about the cast, and Owens says, you can't knock me out. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to have this cast at Royal Rumble. I'm going to take it off right now. And he takes it off and tosses it down, and he turns back around. Boom, Logan Paul punches him right in the fucking mush, turns around, and of course, as you do, every time you hit some guy one time, you immediately turn your back on him. And exults in the crowd, and Kevin Owens gets back up to his feet. And Logan Paul turns around and shits himself, and Owens tackles him, and they go to the floor. But it ends up that Logan Paul rams Owens' bad hand into the fucking ring post or stairs or whatever it was. And Owens is selling his hand, and Logan Paul's taunting him. And again, not only Logan Paul was great, this was good even for Owens. Like 12 minutes. But it's selling tickets. It's better than any of the fucking matches. I don't know what that says about their matches, but
it makes you want to see the matches. It makes you want to see these two have a match.
Yeah, but actually when I see this match, I probably won't like it as much as this promo. Because it's going to be another WWE match, but I want to see it. And again, Logan Paul's not experienced at this, even if he's done media and done his own YouTube and talking. He's a natural because he picks it up and with what he's done in the ring, you can't look at him anymore except in terms of schedule like a part-timer. He's one of their top guys for the big major shows. He's an asset now.
Other than Rollins' world title and maybe like the women's tag title or something, or any of the tag titles, every champion, every title is serious right now. It's amazing when you really think about the way things have been for like the last 25 years with lots of title changes and everything. Logan Paul, Gunther, Roman Reigns, Rhea Ripley, they have strong champions for the first time in a long time.
And I mean, we get on Seth Franklin Rollins, but he is a star. It's not his fault that they made up a belt and gave to him that is overshadowed by the real lineage of all the real belts that they've been featuring for the past 20 years.
If he is injured, I hate to go back to this, but if he is injured and he can't wrestle for a while, what do you do with the belt that was made up and he was the only person to ever get it?
I'd make the winner of the Royal Rumble the new world champion that Seth Rollins used to be and get to pick who he challenges for the deal, but that would potentially be reuniting the titles, but that would be what I would want. But if Rollins, if a bus came along and ran him over and he was out for 9 months tomorrow, I would put the thing up for the winner of the Royal Rumble. And let's increase all of the goddamn interest in whatever comes out of that.
It'd be a good business model. Like every 3 years, you unify the titles, and then you create a new world title in the next year. And then a few years later, you unify it again.
How about just recognize we got too many of them? Because, you can sell a reign like Roman Reigns is, no pun intended, because it is the not only the one title down deep in there somewhere, but the two that were featured for quite some time. And there was a big deal about unifying them. But then you can't make another one and just, that quickly and just expect that with no history and with no, direct lineage besides kind of a okay tournament on television, blah, blah, blah. You can't sell that to people. But these promos are selling tickets and they're selling pay-per-views or premium live events, and they're selling interest in who these guys are and who they're fighting and what their personal reasons are. Because as we know, personal issues draw money. But I really think that the business would be exactly the same, the revenue, really, if Seth was not being called a world champion and was just everything was happening in the mix that it's happening already. But I think it's going to be a long road to hoe, as Mama Cornette used to say, to sell that third world title in the fans' eyes. I don't even know, Brian, if our friends at Shopify could sell that.
Well, I think they could sell that, or more appropriately, help you sell that if you had that to sell.
Well, I don't know, because you might not be able to sell some things to some people, and you can fool some of the people some of the time and all of the people all of the time, but you can't fool Shopify at all, because if you can't sell with Shopify, well, you're just not a salesman. That's what they always say. Folks,
who's they? Who's they?
Well, that's the people at Shopify say that.
They do not say that. You're not communicating with these people.
Well, they've sent me an email.
Did they say that?
Well, they said something like that.
But not that.
Close enough.
We have to be disruptive.
Anyway.
I feel like there's a disconnect.
There's some level of disconnect here. Folks, if you need a platform to sell something, we talked about that earlier. When I have the platform here to speak to you people and to sell the fine products at JimCornette.com, if you need a platform on which to sell your goods and services, your merchandise, the things that you make with the sweat of your brow and the toil of your tired fingers, and you need one of the global commerce platforms that is a leader that helps you sell at every stage of your business, from the launch your online shop stage all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage, it's our friends at Shopify. Because no matter what you're selling, as long as it goes through certain FBI background checks and regulations and is not explosive, corrosive, or conducive to the moral turpitude of the general public, Shopify will help you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. It's up to 36% better compared to other converting checkouts, apparently. And you can sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, because once you merely give your soul over to Satan and dedicate yourself to black magic witchcraft.
No one said anything about black magic.
Well, once that you have had the seance and you brought Shopify Magic into your circle, then you can sell things all the time with less effort, because people will be under the spell of the magic power of Shopify. You will take some wolf's bane and you will take some eyeballs of newt and mix them together, and suddenly all your merchandise is flying off the shelves.
And of course, we're speaking in purely positive, metaphorical phrases. So look at these and negate them. And there'll be no black magic. It'll be just magic. Wonderful, nice magic.
Look at these and negate them. You have to believe that it's magic. Don't let it stand in your way.
Oh,
No,
God.
don't let anything stand in your way of running now to Shopify.com, because Shopify powers 10% of all the e-commerce in the United States. And that other 90%, well, they're giving them a lot of trouble, because if they can't run the thing, they'll tear it down. They are sabotaging those platforms left and right. If you're with one of the other platforms, you never know when Shopify is going to hit you with some kind of virus or something. They're taking all these people down.
That is not what they do. There was no viruses. Again, Jim's just making up some stuff.
What? Some stuff? Well, there's a grain of truth in here somewhere.
No? Who said that?
And we're going to find it. Because Shopify's extensive help resources are there to support your success every step of the way. That's where you're going to find, if you've got a problem, go to Shopify's help resources and they will find it, because their resources are extensive and they're there to support your success and cover their ass every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify if they're smart and they know what they're doing. Because you got a nice business there. It'd be a shame if anything happened to it. So right now it's going to cost you almost nothing. You can sign up for a $1 a month trial period. We're almost giving these things away anymore. Are these people paying us, Brian? How can they afford to? But anyway, go to Shopify.com/JCE and you're going to get a $1 a month trial period. Now that /JCE, that's all lowercase. That's important for some reason. We're not sure what. But Shopify.com/JCE, $1 a month trial period for a global e-commerce platform to set you up and be able to sell snow to Eskimos and stink to skunks and anything else that you want to market. It doesn't even have to be good. It can be complete hogwash. They'll sell it for you, because Shopify is going to make you money. They're not going to worry about whether your product causes some type of testicular cancer in mice.
Well, no. What? Shopify, again, I don't know where you whip some of these out of.
Well, there's a lot of regulations these days. And just because something causes cancer in mice's nuts doesn't mean it's going to be bad for people.
It doesn't mean we need to reference that during the spot about the wonderful people at Shopify and the wonderful service they offer.
They have nothing to do with mice's nuts. It's just an observation.
It's an observation based on nothing. So we want to tell you about something, and that's Shopify. What's that promo code, Jim?
JCE, all lowercase. And did I mention? Hey! You had the whole hee-haw gang in there. It started out Fractured Fairy Tales and then went to Dudley Do-Right. Oh, should we go back to SmackDown?
If only Jay Ward was in charge of SmackDown.
Well, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Nothing up my sleeve.
Oh, that trick never works.
Rawr.
Huh?
We were back in the Bloodline's locker room, and Roman was roaring. Brian, I know you'll find this hard to believe. He was bitching out old Jimmy Uso for letting Paul go out there alone, the wise man. Paul's sitting there looking traumatized, like he's been sexually assaulted by a porcupine. And while this tantrum's going on, by a what now?
By a viper.
Well, you know that have you ever seen that video of that woman and the eel?
No.
Anyway, eels are very similar to vipers, except some of them are electric.
All right, well, let's electric slide back into the locker room here.
So, wait a minute. So Solo stepped up and took the hey, it was my fault last week. I'm going to fix it. So he's the motivated one there. Jimmy Uso's always got the excuses. Solo took the brunt of the blame completely on his shoulders. So now what's going to happen later on?
He's a very responsible young man who was brought up right.
But then we got a girls' tag team match.
Playa.
So after that, a nice graphic and a little spot for Pat Patterson's birthday. Happy birthday, Pat. We miss you. It's nice to see that somebody noticed that. And coming up on Royal Rumble season. And then we get a pre-tape, spooky lit, dark, treated video. What do you call that shit? Out of weird video, wild and woolly video of the Final Testament. Karrion Kross, Scarlett, Paul Ellering, and the AOP. Which I'm beginning to think the AARP may be a little more intimidating, but what are they doing with the video? They're just random shit pops into the video. There was a shot of a guy in a hazmat suit. Was that because this gimmick stinks, or what's going on here with this? You're the modern day music mogul video genius over there.
What the hell does that have to do with hazmat suits?
Well, that's what I'm asking. Why was the hazmat suit in this video?
It was a way to reach out to our fan base to reference toxicity. Hazardous waste.
Well, that's a hazardous waste. That's what this gimmick is. They should put it in a lead-lined box and drop it in the ocean.
That's a better name than AOP for the tag team.
What?
Hazardous waste.
Hazardous waste. Well, yeah. Why are they trying to make Karrion Kross out to be Aleister Crowley now? He's always been spooky, but now he's spooky with friends. He says this prepared scripted shit that nobody understands. It sounds cool if it's a trailer for an independent horror flick. And otherwise, what are any of these people going to do, and why do we care? And what the fuck? The Final Testament.
It would work better if it was like Ellering showed up and he put everyone in Zubaz.
They're the Zubaz Testament. And they obviously can't go heavy on any kind of religious angle, because that would offend somebody. So what are these people doing, and why, again, do I ask, rhetorically this time, should we care?
I don't yet.
No, I think we need to ring the bell on Karrion Kross, right? At this point, what the fuck? He should have never grown that hair back. And then Carmelo Hayes was in the back, upset about last week's stoppage between him and Theory, but he said, well, I didn't win or lose. And then Theory comes in, and they argue, and Hayes challenges Theory for a rematch next week. And Theory said, well, I'm busy next week. And not Carmelo, but Grayson Waller jumps in and accepts it for him. Oh, he'll be glad to. And then boom, and then Theory's like, well, what do you keep doing that for? Now, are they trying to make Waller and Theory into Martin and Lewis, and they're not sure which one is which?
No, I think they know which one's which. I can't wait till Waller does the Nutty Professor.
Well, I was about to say, in that case, here's the thing. If they know which one is Martin and which one is Lewis between Waller and Theory, the question is, are they French cinema fans or are they fucking 50s crooner fans?
That's right. Jerry Lewis is a genius in France.
And old Dino could talk your panties off in a heartbeat.
Unless you're going commando.
Well, but that didn't start happening until, for the females at least, until the 60s or 70s, did it?
Oh, yeah, because he was done with women by then.
Yeah, well, ones that he didn't have to pay for, but nevertheless. So then we got LA Knight and AJ Styles. And this big grudge that happened from the fight earlier, and they ring the bell, and boom, they go back and forth. There was no, this guy shines and that guy shines. You can tell the fans are more behind LA Knight. But they basically go to the floor, and LA Knight gives AJ the yeah heads into the desk, where he runs head in the desk. People go yeah with each one. And then here comes Jimmy Uso walking out. And LA Knight comes around like, you want some of this? And then turns back to AJ, and AJ hits him with a fucking flying enziguri in front of the announce desk. And when LA Knight goes down, he's getting up. Solo is at the railing and spikes LA Knight. Referee calls for the DQ. Then Solo beats up AJ and spikes him. And then takes the microphone and says, 2 down, 1 to go. Orton, get out here right now. And right at that point, they went to the break. But that whole match and angle was like 5 minutes. It was like, we're going to rough each other up for 3 minutes, and then we're going to do this angle. So you can't, and I'm not saying that wasn't the thing to do. I'd rather see the fucking 5 minutes in the angle than see another WWE style match, and that's what they're counting on.
You could argue that's the right length. I mean, when anything happened on any of the classic wrestling TV shows, other than Memphis, which had 90 minutes to draw things out, 5 minutes, right? I mean, it was a segment.
Or if it was some main event title match, you might go 15 minutes when it was rare to do so for any match on television, and then you'd do your angle or whatever. But they milked us after that opening interview segment with what was going to happen amongst all of these people for the rest of the show, and then at 23 till, they put LA and AJ out there to do their thing. And then run it directly into, minus the break, run it directly into the already advertised TV main event. Because when they come back from that break, then there's Solo in the ring. And again, somebody has got a fucking concession in a carryout service, because we last left LA Knight and AJ Styles. They had been Samoan spiked by this dangerous man, and they were down. In 3 minutes, they got the medical crew in there, the spatula, whatever, they've disappeared. That's the thing. I appreciate they're trying to be somewhat more wrestling here, and maybe baby steps, but goddamn, when would your main event baby faces ever be laid out and hurt like that? And when you came back from the break, they've disappeared, and nothing more is. Am I being too picky?
Well, this is the era of the disappearance.
All right. So we're into Orton and Solo, and it's 12 minutes before the hour. Right? This is the advertised main event. Well, we got 12 minutes. They get in an immediate fight. Solo takes over. They go to the floor. They run one time into the desk, one time into the stairs, and they went to the break again in 1 minute of action. I mean, what the fuck? So now, again, from 23 before the hour, they've had a little 5-minute skirmish with LA Knight and AJ, and by the time they come back from 1 minute of action of Orton Solo, they got 9 minutes on the air. Actually, it's 9 minutes before the hour. SmackDown ends up 2 minutes early usually, or at least a minute and a half. So they come back, they're on the floor. Orton drops Solo on the announce desk, gives him the draping DDT, and calls for the RKO. But there comes Uso down the aisle, but LA Knight catches him and they get in a fight. And as Uso runs off, AJ comes out, and Orton's watching all this. And Solo goes to grab him and turn him around and go for the spike, and Orton hits Solo with the RKO to a huge pop out of nowhere. Boom, 1, 2, 3. There was literally less than 2.5 minutes of this match on the air. And then LA Knight and AJ get in the ring, and they have a 3-way face-off with Orton. But out of nowhere, LA Knight says, fuck you, AJ, and punches him. And then Orton gives LA Knight the RKO and then gives one to AJ. But there's Roman in from behind and hits fucking Orton with the Superman punch, so all 3 baby faces are down. And then Roman asks Aldis in a condescending fashion for the contract. And he signs it. And he drops it at Nick Aldis's feet in a rude and vulgar manner, and then sets up to spear Orton. And as he charges to spear Orton, Orton hits the RKO out of nowhere. And Roman Reigns is flat of his face, colder than a banker's heart. And then Orton gets the contract and puts it in front of Roman Reigns, and we go off the air. Perfect timing. There was no match to this at all, but goddamn, now everybody was, what the fuck's going to happen now? Oh, the RKOs. Oh, the RKOs. Oh, the spears. Oh, the humanity. What can happen next? They're angling us and talking us into their biggest business, well, money-wise ever, viewer-wise, obviously not, but that's all their audience wants to see, and they're giving it to them.
Yeah, by not giving them too much.
And now, again,
you're always left wanting more from the main people. I guess the only thing I worry about I want to get your thoughts here. Obviously, it's your show.
Well, thank you.
Whether it's Cody Rhodes or LA Knight, do you think anyone has lost any steam because of some of the recent things like Punk coming in or The Rock returning? AJ just came back. Does it seem like everything's still okay? I mean, LA Knight's still super over, but did he kind of hit a plateau like this is where he's going to be? Or, Cody is a weird, unique situation just because of the build. But what do you think?
I think with LA Knight, it depends on what they do with him next and what he accomplishes next. AJ is going to be a heel sometime in the future because they're already leading us in that direction. And the people clearly like LA Knight better than they like AJ at this point. But Orton is an icon who's come back after so long being away. And, they're really appreciating him. I don't know that it's going to cool anybody off. I think they're getting more people hot, and maybe it doesn't stand out as much when some shows, the only people they were really getting up for were AJ or were LA Knight, or the only person they were really getting up for was LA Knight at one point. Now they've got a variety of people that they're into, and the ticket sales are increasing and the crowds are increasing. So it doesn't stand out as so unique when they've got 6 or 7 or 8 guys that are getting a top guy reaction instead of just 2 or 3. But it depends on what they do with them from here because everybody's still interesting. And I think AJ, again, becoming a heel will probably help him because there's no way, as long as he's been there, and just honestly, with AJ's promo, he's not going to be hotter than LA Knight right now, or Orton right now, or Cody right now, or even Owens right now. So as a heel, his in-ring is more important and what he can do. But anyway, to answer your question, I think they've just got a lot more people hot, and they can spread them out. And Punk, we didn't even mention Punk. They can spread them out over 3 hours of Raw and 2 hours of SmackDown and the once a month pay-per-view. And AEW I laugh every time I hear people say, well, they've got so much talent they can't push them. No, they got so many guys. They don't have enough talent. They do not have nearly this many main event guys, much less healthy main event guys. And Tony's disjointed shit, it doesn't make enough sense to keep. They're keeping here on SmackDown and Raw all of these people, and Seth Rollins until his injury, and Cody, who wasn't even on this program, and Punk. They're keeping them all interconnected in a way that they've got multiple matchups because of the Drew. Talk about Drew. The jealousy and the backstories and the history between these guys when one was a heel and one was a babyface, now it's switched, or just both of them are on the same side, but they want the same thing. They've got multiple intriguing matchups where AEW has almost none that are going to draw any money, just that the basement fans are going to mark out about. So I don't think they're in a problem right now in the WWE with anybody cooling off. I think it's more of a dogfight for these guys to stay where they are. And that's what's probably prodding them to do a better job and cut more pointed promos. But anyway, it's right now the AEW is a bowl of fucking mixed nuts, and WWE is a box of fluffy ducks, don't you think, Brian?
That wasn't what I was thinking as a comparison, no.
You wouldn't think of that? Well, it's just smooth sailing for the WWE. They're farting through silk. They're in tall cotton. They're a box of fluffy ducks, and over across the street, it's not so good. It's rough. It's a hard row to hoe.
That was a favorite expression of Piper, wasn't it? A box of fluffy ducks?
Well, it's WWF centric. It comes from the Bruce and Pat and Vince inner circle. No problem. Box of fluffy ducks. But anyway, if you would like
Sounds like a lot of shit. I mean, that doesn't sound like a good thing. It sounds like a box full of shit.
Well, if you would like a box that doesn't contain shit or fluffy ducks, but contains something that you would like and be interested in and pay a fraction of its proper premium price for, then you need to sign up with our friends over at Bespoke Post at boxofawesome.com. Because everybody knows that anything that comes out of a box is over. Brian, we've established that on numerous occasions, haven't we?
You've claimed that on numerous occasions. I think it's still, something that has to be tested over time.
It's been adjudicated in a court of law, and I've got papers to prove it. Anything that comes out of a box of awesome is going to be over with you, because what you do is you go to boxofawesome.com and you take the quiz, and you tell them the things you're interested in, because they have tons of different categories. They just go down the streets in those markets across the world, New York, Bombay, London, Tokyo, Paris, Munich. Everybody's loving pop music, and they pick up all of these incredible items from these mom and pop small businesses that you might never have heard of.
Here in the States.
Well, anywhere, but especially in the States. Especially here.
That's exclusively here.
Especially exclusively here. And they're over in Des Moines too. And they get all this stuff. They put it in a freight car. They take it to their headquarters and they put it in boxes. And then when you sign up for the Box of Awesome, they send you the box of awesomeness that contains the product or products that you, frankly, have told them that you were interested in the genre of same. It's simple. And besides that, you're supporting the small businesses, because if their stuff gets complaints, if the customers of boxofawesome.com, if they get complaints about something that they're sending out to people, well, they go back to that mom and pop and they grab mom by the scruff of the neck and they make her watch while they slap pop around.
No, they don't. They don't do any of that, ladies and gentlemen. That is metaphorically
they take
incorrect.
Care of their
also,
customers.
because they're not going to in any way do that. They're going to work with mom and pop, if there was indeed a mom and pop to be worked with.
Well, everybody's got a mom and a pop.
Well, I don't know if they're running the business.
Well, if they're not running the business, no wonder. If mom and pop aren't running the business, no wonder the kids are in such bad shape these days. But the point is that they're not going to let people cheat their customers. If your stuff is not awesome when it comes out of that box, there's going to be hell to pay for whoever put it in there, I'll tell you that. And whoever made it. And there's a paper trail, and they can track these people down. So if you're one of Box of Awesome suppliers, don't try to cut corners. But folks,
but if you wanted to, there'd be wonderful knives in your Box of Awesome that cut those corners.
That's another thing. There's knives in these boxes, and a motherfucker might get cut. I'll tell you what, when you become a member, you're going to have access to stellar discounts across a plethora of products, 30% off or more sometimes from what you would pay if somebody pulled a knife on you individually. And like we said, you're supporting the small businesses. 90% of everything that comes in your Box of Awesome is from mom and pop or pop and pop. We're not sure of their proclivities or personal relationships, but
Ma and her special friend.
Ma and her special friend, they make darn good thermostats. And it's free to sign up at Box of Awesome, and you can skip a month or cancel anytime. And right now, I'm talking immediately, you can get a free mystery gift with your first monthly shipment when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code JCE at checkout. These codes are getting pretty uniform, so just remember the initials of this program. You can't go wrong. Boxofawesome.com, the code JCE. You're going to get a free mystery gift, already free, along with the monthly shipment that you're going to pay a seduced rate for, much less than it's normally charged or cost anywhere in the world. So you're getting shit just handed to you for no reason. At boxofawesome.com,
for the
code
reason
JCE.
that you've subscribed to Box of Awesome and you're willing to receive wonderful...
Well, but yeah, what have you done for them that you should get that much money off and a free mystery gift?
Well, it's not about what you do for them. It's about what they can do for you. They're wonderful people at the Box of Awesome.
Well, ask not what your Box of Awesome can do for you. Ask what you can do for your Box of Awesome.
All right, well, between now and the end of the decade, I plan to put a man on this Box of Awesome.
Not because it is easy, but because it is hard. But it's easy to sign up. It's just hard to get out of this shit. Boxofawesome.com. Promo code JCE. It's like a roach motel. You'll never get out.
You're talking about this show, for the record.
That's the one I'm talking about. This program right here. Well, Brian, speaking of awesomeness, what in the world is going on over there at the Arcadian Vanguard Network and the wrestling news this week?
Oh, you know, the usual. Well, I hit the wrong button. Well, that was this. Oh, that's the wrong one, too. That's the Mike Lano button. Actually, all these are kind of insults now that I look at it. Yeah, that didn't work. All right, well, yeah, another Oh Yeah week on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network. Get information about all the shows on Twitter at Superpodcast or on Facebook at facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. Speaking of Oh Yeah or Ooh Yeah, hear Brian Solomon on Shut Up and Wrestle. Just talk with John Finkel, the author of the upcoming Macho Man Randy Savage biography. Hear that today at suawpod.com. Are available wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And of course, thank you to Brian Solomon for filling in for me last week. Also want to make mention of the latest episode of Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam. John's guest, Bob Smith from PWI, or the old days of PWI. Here's some fun magazine talk. McAdamPod.com, or look for Shut Up and Wrestle with John McAdam wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Of course, the wrestling news. Each and every day, get your wrestling news for free. Every morning, get your wrestling newscast from The Wrestling News. Get it at thewrestlingnews.com or look for Arcadian Vanguard's The Wrestling News, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And of course, on the
What's the title of that again?
On the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube channel, you can find The Wrestling News. And don't forget about the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership! Hey, lady. Go through the archive today at 605pod.com. Available wherever you find your favorite podcasts. The Mothership.
The Mother.
I'm at capacity.
Yeah, my cup is running over at this point.
Would be the key learnings here.
I'm going to take your batteries away.
I had to buy new batteries.
You know, well, they shouldn't have sold them to you. You should have had to have your parents' permission before you bought those batteries, kid.
They would have never allowed me to get any of these.
It's over 18 only. Oh, good heavens.
Boy, they get longer and longer every time I press it.
Yes, it certainly does. I think you need to see some kind of doctor about that.
Dr. Proctor.
Nevertheless,